All right, let's start with software as a service. So it's like, you know, here's the laundry where you can rent laundry machines. You don't have to have your own washer and dryer. You can just go rent them. Well, the same thing's true that you want to rent your software rather than own it yourself. So here's what traditionally happens. You get this binaries that you download on your device. It has to work with the right version of hardware and software. And that means the developers have to take a long time to make sure the software runs with all kinds of combinations of operating systems and with hardware devices. So isn't there a better way to do this, where you only have to work on one platform? And if you could, it'd be fewer release cycles and no user upgrades. And that's what gets called a software as a service. So the software and the data gets delivered over the internet to some thin program like a browser running on a client device. So, you know, search, social networking is examples of software as a service. It's so popular now that even traditional software like Microsoft Office or TurboTax, instead of buying software and installing it, you can rent it. You can use it away. And so Armando and I think this is not just a fad that's going to go away. We think this is a fundamental change, that this is a revolution in how software is being made, and we're seeing the impact of that this decade. If you read the newspaper, lots of things are happening today, and Microsoft reorganizing, buying companies and stuff like that. We think this is fundamentally the shift from software that you put on your shrink-wrap software to software as a service that's going to play out over this decade. So why is it so popular? No installation worries. As a user, it's going to work. You know, we're not going to have about different hardware capability or the OS is the wrong version. We don't have to worry. You lose your cell phone, the data's up in the cloud, you haven't lost your data. If you're going to have a bunch of people working together, it's naturally to do it in the cloud because it's easy for them to interact. If the data is gigantic or it changes all the time, you don't want to have to send the data to all the people. It's in the cloud. There's one copy. It's easy to keep up to date. For the software developer, it's great. There's only one copy of the software. It only has to work on one set of hardware and one operating system. So there's no hassle for developers. And then one of the benefits of it is if it's in the cloud, before you bring out a new feature, you can try it on a small fraction of the users. This kind of A/B testing, you put it on 1% of them at the time. And finally, there's no upgrades. So there's no upgrades into the field for the users. They don't have to. It seems like every time I turn on my computer, I've got to give permission to something to upgrade it. And it's a lot simpler for the developers as well because they control the environment. So that's the reason for SAS. So what's a good programming environment for SAS? There's a lot of them. SAS is so popular, there's lots of them, lots of languages. But we use Ruby on Rails, which is called Rails in short. Rails is a really popular framework. It's get used by Twitter, for example, but a reason that it's so popular is it's got a really great programming language. In fact, the inventor of Rails picked Ruby, which is not a very popular language, because of its great features. So Ruby is a modern scripting language. It's both functional and object-oriented. Has, of course, automatic memory management. It has dynamic types. It has reuse via mixins and closures and metaprogramming. You'll learn about that. So why did we pick Ruby on Rails? Because there's a lot to learn in this course, but you only got 12 weeks to learn it. You got 12 weeks to learn them, but either you're taking 4 courses, so you divide that 12 weeks by 4. You got 3 weeks full time to learn all this stuff, or people taking the MOOC are working full time, so you only have a limited amount of time, so we want it to be very productive. So there's a lot of things you're going to learn in this class. We need to do this productively. As we wrote in an article about this. So that's why we're going to take some of the time out of the class to learn a new programming language, a new framework, because we think we're going to get multiplied back. The other reason is that's what software engineering is. Software engineering is lifelong learning. So why a bunch of these people in the MOOC are taking this class? Because as software engineers, they keep you need to learning things. This will happen all the rest of your careers. So we'll give you a chance to do that in this class. If you don't like learning new things, this is not a good field for you, because what's amazing about Moore's law is it allows new things to happen all the time. Okay, so we're going to try the 3x5 cards here. All right, so the actual model, the way it works, we'll see if people get a variety of answers this time, is if we disagree, then we'll have you talk about yourselves and vote again as a pair. So what is the weakest argument? These are all arguments for Google Apps popularities, but which of these 4 you think is the weakest? So don't lose data in Gmail. a cooperating group in Drive or Google Documents, a large and changing data set in YouTube, or no field upgrade when you improve the app. So why don't you think about it for a few seconds.